Welcome back, everyone. It's time for more Ori. We have some very exciting races lined up today on commentary. My name is Grimelius, and I'm joined by Rory Rai. What's up, Rory?
Hey, Grim. How's it going? I'm really excited for this block that we've got here. We have 3 races coming up for you guys, featuring 3 of the top 5 runners in them.
That's right. It's super exciting. We know that one of our runners, a very special runner, Willson, in this particular match is potentially short on time, so we'll kind of try to keep our intro nice and to the point. So we'll jump right into introductions. I'll start with Willson. Willson is a runner. If you look at his PB at 28:49, it's okay. You know, could be better. That PB is unfortunately almost 3 minutes behind the TAS, which is a 26 even. So Willson definitely with some work to do, but you know, we'll see if he can put on an okay performance in this run, right, Rory?
Agreed. I think I would expect to see a solid performance, but it won't compare to the TAS, certainly.
No, all jokes aside, Willson is our current world record holder at a ridiculously good 28:49. You can see from the other stats on the screen, he'll be going for pretty much everything. If there's something that's fast, Willson will probably be going for it, and he'll probably nail it, and he's playing on keyboard and mouse. And what about Xephros on the other side?
Zeph, his opponent, is a really new runner. She started right before the tournament, pretty much, and was a previous Hollow Knight runner. She will also be running on keyboard mouse, and will not be going for nearly as many of the crazy tricks. But she's shown a lot of improvement, getting her PB down to a 42 in just a few short weeks.
Yeah, I will say one sort of, it's not a bad thing, but one sort of interesting side effect of putting on a tournament like this is that even the people that were super brand new right when the tournament started, like Zephy, I want to say started maybe only 1 or 2 days before tournament signups closed. And so at the time, her PB was probably the 134 that's shown on screen. But annoyingly, people practice and they get better and they improve, and so their PBs sort of get faster all the time, and our information can get just a little bit out of date.
Yeah, that's such a terrible downside. People improving.
I know, it's rude, is what it is. People getting personal bests, achieving their goals, disgusts me.
Well,
anyway, I'll go ahead, Roy.
In terms of goals, I think for this race we should be looking for both of these runners to put up a best race time. I think we're not going to be really looking to see a close race here so much as racing for best race time in the group standings.
That's right. I mean, as we say, Ori is a fickle game. Anything could happen. But I mean, realistically, Willson is going to take this and will probably win this by quite a bit. I think anybody would be scared. I know I certainly would be facing someone of Willson's caliber, and especially someone who is quite new like Zephy. But it's sort of just a different kind of race, you know? Some races are ultra close and they're exciting for that reason. Other races like this one are just sort of exciting, and you get to see 2 people sort of almost independently just putting on the showcase of what they're capable of.
Right. I think that that's really what we can expect to see here, is that Willson will just be showing off like the best movement that he can, whereas Zeph will really be looking to show off how much he's improved.
That's right. Willson, if you watch this back later, no pressure. We're pretty much talking you up like a really big game. So if you make any mistakes, you're going to make us look like liars. So if you could please not do that, yeah, I would appreciate
definitely
it.
Don't do that. I mean, unless you're hearing this and you want us to look like liars, in which case that would be rude.
Right. Some other sort of general information as we see Willson and Xephros make their way through the Frankie fights, which maybe we said, but just in case, both runners are on keyboard, mouse, so we won't have any KBM controller discrepancies in this race. Also, I had something else I was going to say and I forgot what it was, so never mind. Let's just pretend I didn't say that.
Right, but so even though they are both on keyboard and mouse, we could potentially be seeing Willson using those advantages a little bit better, as we already saw a little bit more optimal shooting in the Frankie fight, as opposed to Xephros.
That's right. As we've said multiple times, Ori is a game of micro-optimizations. Right now, as always, we're trying to damage down to 1 health, and it's good if you can damage down to 1 health, but even just taking 2 bits of intentional damage, looks like Willson did get some health, so he'll take 1 more damage on this slime to go down to 1. There it is. There are sort of faster and slower ways to take damage. You know, you take any individual component of this all-skill speedrun, and you could probably find a way to do it just a hair faster.
Right, and I know Willson has put a lot of work into this early game split here.
That's right. Willson also skipped that health cell, so Roy, what's that about?
Willson is a crazy person who... Okay. That is a downside to skipping that health cell.
You don't get a health refill.
Exactly. He is a crazy person who thinks that going for only 3 health in the early game is a good idea. It takes only the top runners to really do that.
And it doesn't save very much time overall. I will also say that Willson, by his own admission, hasn't really been able to play Ori for, I think he said, at least maybe 5 days or so. So rust is not the right word. Willson is not rusty. It's just, well, maybe like a few days worth of rust, I suppose. And maybe that's what causes those little kinds of death. I mean, I was joking before when I said Willson don't make any mistakes. Willson is allowed to make mistakes. He is a human in a race setting and his first race of this tournament. So, I don't want to give the wrong, impression of this whole thing.
No, if he didn't make mistakes, he'd have like what, a 27 or something. I think his sum of best is down there at this point.
Sounds like a sum of best that he would probably have. Still, with that death though, Xephi on the right is still in second place, but not by a whole lot. Willson just made his way to the wall jump, and there we go. Willson is also sort of pulling out some various color codes. I am a big fan of that bright red Ori. It's a very pleasing color to look at, I think.
It's really nice. Though sometimes the reds and like the oranges can contrast really weirdly with the red when you take damage.
That's true. That's true. Anyway, so Willson, just sort of remember the fact that he is at 3 health. It won't hopefully affect too much, but it's just gonna have him play a little bit more cautious, especially in areas like Misty Woods. As always, Willson is going to need at least 5 health before the end of the run, because even the most skilled players on the planet cannot survive a swim through poison water with less than 5 health. But Willson will be getting that 4th and 5th health cell relatively late in the run.
Yep, and I think it's interesting that you mentioned that he might be playing a little less crazy. I don't think he will. I think he's just going to go as fast as he can.
I think so too. I think that would kind of match his attitude as well. I do also know that Willson is watching the restream, so Willson goes into this knowing that, knowing his own skill level and also knowing that he has a PB that is relatively quite a bit faster than his opponent. So Willson, even if these riskier strats cause him some issues, which maybe they won't, and he'll do them perfectly, he can sort of afford that time loss. So there's a variety of factors that may lead into Wilson's playstyle.
Right, and now, so we're coming into Blackroot, and they're both pretty even, and honestly, like, I don't expect Willson to have any trouble with this Blackroot. What I want to pay attention to is Xeph in Blackroot, because she was 10 seconds ahead of PB at wall jump, and a good Blackroot could just extend that that advantage, or that time gap.
I really, really hope we see a PB. And in saying that, we've probably cursed it, because the commentator's curse is absolutely a real thing that exists. But as you said, just in terms of the overall results of this race, we're not really looking for an upset. We're just looking for good performances on both sides. And a PB would absolutely qualify as one of the best performances you can put on in a race.
In fact, I would say it qualifies as the best performance you can put on in a race.
That is,
by definition, your best performance.
That is quite true. Xephi doesn't look like she's had... I'm probably going to alternate between Xeph and Xephi. Hasn't really had too many issues. Also got that jump first try. That jump is pretty finicky. And then Willson is making his way through the lasers. Is just going to play it a little bit safe on that one. It's fine because he's still going to... Oh my god!
Oh no, Xeph. Oh, that's okay. Value safety save right before those pillars.
I mean, that's a common safety save to take for precisely that reason. Those spikes just have a vengeance. They have like a magnetic ability to pull in Ori. Nice save by Xeph.
Really good awareness to go back to the pillar before that one, realizing that the jump up to the next one is a little bit harder from in the spikes.
That's right. Due to those mistakes, Xeph did miss a cycle, which is going to cost a little bit of time. I don't know offhand exactly how the Blackroot went in her PB, so that may or may not have implications for a personal best. But besides the death down below, which I would argue is by far the easiest place to die in this area, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like those pillars just have ice physics. I know I've said that before.
Yeah.
But
well, it's the physics. It's also just the visuals. Like, there's this bright flash of light every time you activate a lantern, and Ori's white, and everything else is dark. And so it can be surprisingly difficult sometimes to just keep track of exactly where you are. And the pillars are not too thick. That's another death for Xephi. That one's worse.
That's a painful one. All the way back to the bottom here.
It's painful not only because of time loss, but because she's going to have to make her way through all of this again. But while Xeph is having some troubles, Willson, as expected, is not. He's made his way all the way to dash with a very, very solid dash time, given that early death. And Xeph did take another quick death, so take my energy. She'll get through this before long, I'm sure of it.
absolutely. I think that that dash time from Willson is less than what I get without a death.
I know that that's true for me. So I guess you can sort of, I don't know whether it's better to look at the left or right now. Left side, Willson is still in the lead. Willson has made his way out of Black Group Burrows and is heading towards the Frankie Walk, whereas Zeph is still making his way through Black Group Burrows. Sort of, as always, exciting things happening on both sides. It's a pretty common theme in these races.
Right, and I think I almost want to watch the Frankie Walk, because I know that Willson has put a decent amount of time into optimizing the Frankie's jumps.
Yeah, that's right.
He only gets, I think, the minimum number of jumps required.
Yeah, I think there's one particular spot where if you move sort of badly, you can get the Frankie stuck underneath and you lose a bunch of time. And so like many runners, including myself, opt to take it a bit safely. But Willson made it through this fine. He also, I think, got a safety energy. Nice.
Like he did, and there's that safety save.
That's what, 10%?
There's another 10%,
one. Right?
Yeah, it's 10% drop from that Frankie. And then he got another one from the slime.
Well, it's a good thing he did. It's a good thing he did. Willson went for a trick known as a death glide, where you can do a dash glide off of the top of that crusher there and save yourself a tiny bit of time. You can make it, yep, just like he did there without touching the bramble. That's a jump that even touching the bramble, a 4 health runner would have survived. But Willson on 3 did not. But thankfully, he got that 10% drop, so he lost only a little bit of time rather than a lot.
And here he's approaching his early grotto cycle. I know he's going to be going for this. I would assume that he's going to get it.
Zip, zip, zip. Jump dash. Oh, yeah. That was nice and clean.
Meanwhile, Zeph has made it to the dash tree and will be heading out of Black Root and taking her attempt at Frankie Walk in just a minute here.
That's right. We'll see if Zeph can do it cleanly. If you pay very close attention, you also might be able to see some of those very small differences in the Frankie's jumps, although that's something that's probably hard to recognize unless you're intimately familiar with the trick. Zeph is also opting to take a quick safety save on the Spirit Well to restore health and energy and just give an extra safety save.
Yep, and I think in terms of the Frankie's jumps, there's one particular area that I would want to look for where, like we said earlier, the Frankie can get stuck under a ledge. If you're a little bit off, and then a lot of people tend to take that a little bit safer. This area right here, and it looks like it's good.
I think it is too, yeah. It's not hard to not get the frog stuck. You just need to know that the frog can get stuck there and just be in the right places.
Right, and making sure that the frog doesn't get stuck while also getting the max distance on his jumps every time.
That's right. I do want to take a quick moment and point out that Willson just got a perfect first try grotto skip down there, just jumped off the side of the platform, got the correct jump location on the wall, made it look super, super easy.
And Willson is now just going to be doing all this wall climbing here. Yo, that was a neat little jump there.
It was. I've never quite seen that.
I wonder if that's faster. I mean, probably.
Do you think it is
is
faster? Oh, no!
Oh!
That falling slime does 2 damage when it lands, and it has an explosion radius, a damage radius that's larger than you might think. Sometimes it has a nasty habit of just sort of falling when you don't intend it to, even if you're pretty far down. And coming out of the Death Gauntlet, unless you get extraordinarily lucky with your health drops, you will almost always, be at maybe 2 health, maybe even 1. So that falling slime can wreak havoc on your run.
Right, and I think that's just that's one of the reasons why I like to see the safety save from that energy cell placed either immediately or before that slime.
Yep, that's one of the large reasons why.
Because of exactly what we just saw happen.
Yeah, well, Zeph is making her way through the Death Gauntlet V 2.0 this time, and Willson is quick making his way to the first dungeon, the Ginso tree. Yeah, I still kind of want to pay attention to see if Zeph can get through this, but just watching Willson, I'll say, is just really a joy with how clean his movement is. It's not that, I mean, Willson does go for some cool strats, but he doesn't go for any strats that, for the most part, the top runners don't do. Like, he doesn't do that much that's unique. He just does it so freaking well.
Agreed. And we were able to see he skipped an ability cell on his way to Ginso that a lot of people get, and we'll talk more about why that is later. But also on those spinning cycle crushers things, he beat a cycle that a lot of people don't beat.
Yeah.
Just because his movement is so much cleaner.
It's one of those other small optimizations that are hard to appreciate if you aren't really familiar with the speedrun, but take our word for it. It's very, very impressive. So Zephy has made her way through. She decided to not go for the God Cycle or the early Grotto Cycle that can save you 8 seconds. Willson did get it, and Zephy just decided to not go for it because it is ultra precise. On the left, Willson is also doing telehops, and as I say that, he's already done with them.
Because telehops are the best way of getting up through that second room of Genso. It's just, they don't save all that much, but they look really cool.
Well, and it's kind of like ninja jumping. It saves time if you just are really, really good and execute them flawlessly. But if you make even the smallest mistake, you've now lost time over doing things a more traditional way. That death from Willson was intentional, so don't worry about that one.
And the reason that it was intentional is to save a cycle here in this room by allowing him to get that block down to redirect the first shot instead of the second one.
That's right. I'm also going to be curious to see how Willson handles this mini-boss. This mini-boss has a bit of RNG, but it's RNG that can be managed quite well with experience. And so let's see how Willson can pull it off, as he will be doing his scroll wheel shooting, so he'll be getting as many shots, as many volleys in as possible with each spawn of this mini-boss. You saw him dash over to the right there. That's because he's able to catch a one-frame tell, which is not that easy to catch, so it takes some practice and some awareness to be aware of where to look on your screen, and there it goes.
And meanwhile, Zeph getting a nice second try auto skip there. That's really great to see.
That's right. Grotto skip is another skip that it's not hard. It's just, a little bit precise, and it can sort of start to infinite you if it gets in your head, and especially if the platform starts swinging.
Especially if that platform starts swinging, it's just like you're kind of done.
Yeah. That's right. So Willson is just about to bash. He took some intentional damage on the spikes because he's about to take another intentional death at this ghost door. There it is. And he's making his way over to bash. So pretty clean play. A few small mistakes from Willson, although his time is still, phenomenal coming in here despite those little mistakes.
Right. There's it's all these little tiny optimizations that he's making all over the place with his movement that just makes it such a pleasure to see.
That's right. I will also say, just for anyone curious, we probably won't spend too much time during this race pointing out deltas between the runners like we would with a closer race. Oh, Willson actually missed that shot. That's okay. He'll go get another one. Just because, as we said, we'll kind of be expecting, that discrepancy to probably grow and grow, as would happen with anyone, as it happened with anyone against someone of this caliber. I feel like in all the praise we're dumping on Willson, we're like giving a short stick to Zeph. I don't mean to do that. So don't misconstrue this. It's just Willson is really, really good. So by comparison, Zephy is behind. But for her experience, she's doing just fine.
Right. But just another quick one of those small optimizations that we've been talking about that Willson makes. He placed his save for this Kidu one platform higher.
He did. How much time does that save? Do you know?
I don't know offhand. But
I know it's not much.
It does save a little bit. Yep,
and saving little bits is what you need to get that 28-49. So Willson has made it through, sort of doing some jumps. You have to wait for this door. It's like a 5-second auto scroller, if you want to call it that. So Wilson's going to teleport back to Grotto. We're going to see a bit of we might see 2 spirit wells on screen at the same time. Oh my god. No way. It's never happened before in the history of Ori. Wilson's going to be heading towards his swamp entry. We'll see if he can pull it off nice and clean, whereas Zeph making a safety save at that spirit well, which he's going to need later in the run as a teleport location, is going to make her way into Ginso.
Right, and she did take a little bit of damage from one of the spinning crushers on the way up here, so I think she's only at 1 health right now, maybe 2.
It's definitely spooky.
How Ginso goes, because most of the things in Ginso deal 2 damage to you.
And you can get through the whole area taking no damage, but enough about that. I want to focus on the left side. Willson is making short work of this swamp entry. Did 2 double bashes in a row to get the frog and himself into position, baiting 1 shot. There's a second shot. He's going to do another nice double bash, and he's through. Smooth as freaking butter over there.
Yeah, it's really just, as a runner of Ori, it just is incredible to watch. To think, this is a trick that I do, and it takes me about this long, and oh, he's already done.
That's right. Willson also got a nice hyperspeed going through the door. Zeph on the right is unfortunately having a few issues. Willson with the double bash swag on the projectile. Zeph is having some trouble with these swinging platforms because these jumps are pretty precise. You can get enough height to make them without going the intended path through the portals, but they're pretty precise, and if they start swinging, it becomes more difficult, similar to the Grotto skip. And then Zeph actually took a quick death, which also slowed things down a bit.
Yep, and that death was probably due to taking a little bit of unintentional damage right before entering Ginso.
That's right, but Zeph is making her way through the second room now, and then she'll enter, what is it, some other stuff, and then a puzzle room. There's a whole bunch of things to do.
There's a portal room, and then a puzzle room, and mini boss room.
So it's a whole series of rooms. They're quite vertical, I think.
Yes, that's a good word to describe it.
Yep. Nice job by Willson, quickly and cleanly getting up to that cell. Willson is going to come up on his Kuro cutscene skip in a moment, making a safety save, which is a very common one to take, especially because you have the energy to spare. So Wilson's going to get in a precise location, bashes straight through that cutscene trigger, making it look super, super easy. As always, that's a super precise skip, and Willson just, knows how to do it.
Right, and I have to say, I like the dash glide over the slime to set that up.
Me too. Okay, well, Wilson's quickly going to be coming up on Charge Flame, where Zephy, after this mini-boss, just has to do 2 more rooms and then make it over to Bash. It looks like Zephy is deciding to do shots in a slightly different pattern. They're a little bit slower than Wilson's shots, so this mini-boss is likely going to take a little bit longer. Zeph also probably doesn't know how to manage the RNG as well as Willson does, so for all those reasons, we'll see probably a handful of more cycles than Willson got.
Right, and I think that's what I was mentioning earlier, like Willson is able to use these keyboard and mouse advantages a little bit better, just because he has that much more experience with the game.
That's right. One such advantage, keyboard mouse, generally speaking, is quite a bit better at these save anywhere tricks, which Willson has up right now, than controller. The reason is that on KBM you can move around freely and just use your mouse to do menuing, whereas on controller, pressing A to jump can also spend a skill. That's not really relevant in this race, because they're both on KBM, but it's, I guess, an interesting bit of trivia to know about KBM.
To be fair, on KBM you could, if you don't unbind, proceed from space.
True.
You could jump and level up a skill. I had that happen in a kill to run once, and I immediately unbound it.
That's a mistake you won't make twice.
Right.
I will say, I kind of forgot about this until I have it written down, and I forgot to say it. Willson said that he actually has jump bound to his left mouse button. I'm going to kind of say that again. Willson has jump bound to his left mouse button, and if that sounds strange to you, it's because it is. But in Ore, you can rebind things pretty much any way you want, and I mean, if it lets you go fast, then it's not weird at all.
Yeah,
I would say.
The binds are really a lot of just personal preference. It's whatever feels the most comfortable for you to be going faster.
Oh man, Willson, he got the shot correctly for his fast Nautilus attempt, but then messed up his movement for just a hair, so made the smart decision to turn around quickly and try it again. He's going to be trying to get up to the cell, nice and fast, and got the trick.
Very nice. It's a really precise angle on that shot, but there's a nice visual cue that he can use on keyboard and mouse that really helps line it up.
Okay, I'm sort of flip-flopping back and forth between screens. Zeph did successfully get her key dupe, so that's good. Although we are getting word from our stats guys that Zeph didn't level up regroup, so we'll see how that affects things. But I would direct attention over to the left again, because Wilson's about to start doing some super crazy stuff. He's heading towards the infamous Sarabash trick using rocket jumps and charge dashes and double bashes. It's just a super crazy area. And then even once you get past Sarabash, you still have to do a bunch of other crazy super precise movement by insta-kill spikes.
Right, and coming up soon for Willson is going to be a trick called Crazy Juggle, which is the reason why he skipped that ability cell earlier, because a lot of runners in this tournament are going to be doing Terror Break in order to make their way up to Sunstone, and Willson and a lot of the other top runners will not. They're going to be doing this, which is, and he messes it up right away. That's a shame. I was really hoping to explain it.
Can you explain it anyway? It's, I think, interesting.
Oh, no. Okay, well, we might get to see it again. So what it is it's a series of 2-frame inputs that allow you to charge dash to this frog, and then cancel that charge dash with a stomp before the charge dash deals damage, and then you bash out of the stomp to grab the frog again. So instead of a sort of normal frog juggle, where the frog will fall down and you'll catch it again with a bash, you're catching it at the peak of that height that it gets, which allows you to get this frog from a lot lower to a lot higher up. But if you damage it at all, the trick is done.
It's a trick that only crazy runners go for, and it doesn't save much time over Terror Break anyway.
No, it's like 8 seconds. So look
here we go.
Each of these is a 2-frame input.
I just don't even want to say anything. I'm almost holding my breath just watching this.
Yeah, I am too, honestly.
Oh, he's...
And he gets it.
If you miss a single one of those, it's over, right?
Yeah. If you damage the frog, it's over. Because
Well,
you don't have enough health left on him to bash, since every bash deals 3 damage to the frog.
that's right. Well, Willson didn't make it first try, but he did make it second. Just to give a quick recap on Xeph over on the right. Xeph made it past the swamp entry, which she did get first try. So, congratulations on that, not letting the nerves and some of the deaths affect her execution of these tricks too much, and is quickly making her way to Stomp. Whereas Willson has picked up the Sunstone.
Looked like Xeph had a little bit of trouble with that Situ Shard,
yeah.
or Mortar Worm, or whatever you want to call it.
So with Willson getting the Sunstone, he's now going to head over to, what in the world am I trying to say? To charge jump. We already saw him got through it really quick. Wilson's going to have to go back to that area. It's an area that's very spiky. It's full of sort of orange things that can hurt you. Some might call it a dungeon, but it's not a Doritos dungeon, Willson. It's a different kind of prison. That area is known as the Bugle's Brig.
Have you been looking up chips again?
Actually, that one came from Lucy. So if anyone is groaning at that, you can blame Lucy. She sent that to me yesterday, and I blame that one fully on her. But yes, okay. Also I have been looking up chips.
Well, Willson did take a quick death to the chips here, but fortunately, skill trees do autosave, so not too much of a time loss here.
That's right. Willson is just sort of, as we said, he hasn't been able to play this game for a handful of days, and so rusty, again, is not quite the right word, but just little tiny bit of rust is causing some of these tricks to go second try rather than first try, as if that's a bad thing. It's like, oh no, you only got your Crazy Juggle second try in a tournament race, you know what I mean?
Right.
So opening on a good performance, Willson, I'm guessing, is going to make very short work of Misty as well. One of the coolest things about a top level runner like Willson is just the number of stomp cancels that you see in quick succession.
Right, because Misty is really just all about how you optimize your movement. And these top runners are just, they've had so much practice, they've figured out how to take this 5 energy that we pick up and use all of it on movement.
That's right. So Wilson's doing great. I want to make sure we don't sort of, accidentally ignore Xeph just because it's sort of such a joy to watch Willson play. I do want to point out, and thanks to the stats guys for keeping us on our toes, Xeph did unfortunately miss her curve cutscene skip, which is super precise. But Xeph also went out of her way to get the health cell of the Spider Coves, which is not an uncommon one to take. As we said earlier in the run, any runner, even Willson, requires at least 5 health to finish, but many runners decide to go for 6 health. And if you're going to go for, well, any amount of health, it's often better to get that extra health early because you have additional safety at the Sorrow Pass area, which is exactly what Xeph did.
And it looks like Zeph's Frankie didn't quite follow her down to Charge Flame, so that might be a little bit of a detour, having to Charge Flame this blue wall and go around.
It also costs you half an energy, which is just kind of annoying.
It's really annoying, but fortunately we have Magnet, and there is a nice convenient energy right next to the Stomp Crystal.
That's right. Well, as Zephy's been going through this, Willson has just been annihilating this latter half of Misty. Had a nice rocket jump through what we call the meatball shaft. I think it was Hobbs who coined that term initially. Willson not even bothering to make a save with only 1 health. Nice. Wilson's not afraid.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there's a mini-boss there or anything.
Getting word from Nans in the truck. Willson 1 HP Monka S. Yeah, you're right about that.
I don't think he cares, honestly.
I don't think he cares either. I mean, we did mention, Willson is super good anyway, so he didn't even have any problems, but, like, Willson is... I think to get a 2849, you have to just go kind of for gold.
Yeah, I feel like you have to just sort of assume that you're going to do the thing properly, and then try to do the thing.
That's right. Well, Willson now has 10 out of 11 skills. He's going to make his revisit, as we always do, to Blackroot Burrows to make his way down to Light Grenade. We're also seeing Willson go through what's going to look like... Is it this whole area with Save Anywhere open?
It looks like it is.
Yeah, and can you remind everyone why one would do something like this?
The reason that one would do something crazy like this is because it saves an energy. If you don't have enough energy or to place a save right before Light Grenade, or don't want to spend that energy so that you can use it for movement, which is probably what Willson does, then you can start the Save Anywhere on the Spirit Well or on the save that you use for the Lever Glitch, and carry it all the way down to here,
That's right. It saves you not much time for a whole lot of struggles. While Willson was doing all of that, Zeph decided to not go for Fast Stompless. Fast Stompless is a trick that, like all tricks in Ori, save you time if you get it, but if you miss it, then you don't save time, and instead you're just filled with sadness. So Zephy just making the choice to sort of continue on through cleanly. And Willson has every single skill in the game, including Light Grenade. Light Grenade is a skill that we will use literally 0 times for its intended purpose, but we will be using it for an unintended purpose. Can you tell everyone what that is for anyone who may be unfamiliar?
That is grenade jumps, which look like that. It is basically a way to make the game forget to decelerate you after a charge jump. Willson, you did that twice in a row.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Wilson's just doing some laser testing, for Moon Studios, making sure that they still are hot and spicy. They are. They still zap you.
They jumped again.
That's right. So Wilson's kind of making his way out of this area. I would expect to see more of these grenade jumps, not only because they're faster, but because they look cool as all heck. Meanwhile, Zeph is going to be taking her attempts at Sarabash very, very quickly. So direct your attention over to the right. That's where the action is going to be happening for the next, well, hopefully not long, but right now at least.
Hopefully the next, 10 seconds or so.
Yeah. The next N number of attempts, hopefully N will be equal to 1. Oh no, so close.
Not quite. Hopefully it'll be 2.
That's right. Those spikes are insta-killed. Well, they're actually not insta-kill to Zeph. They deal 4 damage.
They wouldn't have been insta-kill, but she took a hit from the bird.
Oh, okay.
Trying to set it up.
Yeah, unfortunately, they are insta-kill to the birds, because birds, unlike Ori, cannot go out of their way to pick up health cells. It's kind of too bad.
Yeah.
Imagine the monstrous bird enemy you could create with health cells.
Maybe that's what happened to Kuro.
Maybe. Okay, Zeph on the right is doing Sorrow. There's so many things with the word sorrow in it. It's doing Sorrow Bash. Willson has made his way over to Horu. Let's see if... Oh, come on, Zeph. Come on, Zeph.
That looks good.
That looks good. And there's a safety save. Okay.
That's it.
Okay, so Wilson's doing door up. What's her door up attempt, Rory?
I'm going to say first try for Willson.
I'm going to say first try. Exit, reload. He has to press up on the frame that the game loads. Okay, not first try.
Okay.
That's fine. We take responsibility. It's going to be second try. Yeah, it is.
And there it is.
Okay, so Willson is almost done. He just has to culminate some skills in this fiery lava section at the end. And he has to survive the swim through the poison water. He does only have 5 health, although I would not expect that to pose too many challenges for Willson. So just, I would say, kind of pay attention to the left right now and just enjoy what you're seeing.
Remember, he can't take damage here. But
He
I don't
cannot.
think he will.
No. It is funny, as we sort of described, there are many things in this escape sequence and in the game in general that will insta-kill you, like lasers and lava. But in this escape, everything is effectively insta-kill, right?
Pretty much, because if you take damage, you suddenly don't have enough health to make it through this poison water down here. You have to be in here for a minimum of 4 seconds, and it deals 1 damage every second. So if you take damage, you have to kill yourself.
That is so scary. He did make it through, so now Willson gets his attempt at grenade jumps. We've already seen some grenade jumps, so let's see if Willson can pull this off first try. He has to be in a precise position, and nice.
Very nice from Willson, and that is it. He just has to hold right through this cutscene.
Holy... Tara, I see what you're doing. I don't think the stream can see it, but we can see it.
But we know, Tara.
We know what's happening.
Tara's revenge for all the shade you've been throwing at him, Grim.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'll have my revenge in brackets. It's fine. So Willson, as expected, he is a world record holder after all. On the left is going to take the victory. His time will be coming up very shortly. He just has to hold right, and then he's going to lose control of Naru, doing some nice optimizations to finish out nice and strong. And then we'll be getting confirmation on his final time in a moment, which means that after we do that, we will be able to focus all of our attention on Zeph, as she has made her way up to Sunstone and only has to do Misty Woods and, well, just a few sections remaining for her.
Yep, and I feel like that's one of the best times to be able to focus on a runner exclusively is Misty, because it's really just where they get to show off what they know how to do.
I agree with that. I had myself muted for a moment. I think we are going to be getting Willson in for an interview, not this second, but quite soon. Also, Wilson's final time was a 31:17. That's a 31:17 with a handful of pretty rough deaths. That's phenomenal.
It really is. It just shows how much work he's put into getting his movement down perfectly.
That's right. So I want to pay attention to Zeph for just a few minutes until we start talking to Willson. We're going to talk to Willson and do a little interview during the race, just in the interest of time, because this is not our only race today, and we want to make sure that we stay on schedule. But I want to kind of maybe wait until Zeph gets to climb, and we can kind of see how she does in the early part of Misty.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Zeph did a nice meteor kick getting into this area. That's sort of a reverse rocket jump to get down. We're seeing, fewer stomp cancels and stuff, because stomp cancels are hard, and if you mess him up, you generally face plant into spikes or something.
Or you just lose an energy. One of these is a significantly better outcome than the other, because it doesn't kill you.
Will do. Will do. I just said will do to Willson, even though he typed in chat. Nice job. So Zeph has to wait through a quick cutscene here, and then is going to be going off to the left. There's just one more S-shaped sort of spiky area remaining before the climb tree, and then we'll be getting Willson in here to talk to him.
I do like that we're seeing some charge dashes from Zeph here. Like, there's no stomp cancels, like we said, but stomp cancels are really, really hard. But just charge dashing at all is a really great start to build on for your movement in Misty.
That was scary. Zeph took damage right there at the end. But there we go. Zeph has made it to climb, so you can keep watching Zeph as she makes her way through the second part of Misty, but we're not probably going to talk about it a whole lot, because we're going to bring Willson in right now. Hi, Willson.
How's it going, Willson? Congrats.
Yo, guys. Thanks.
I have a question for you. How's it going? How are you? How are you feeling?
Like, I was really, really nervous for this race. Mainly because I get really bad stage fright, but also I haven't been able to play these last couple of days, so I felt kind of rusty and unsure of myself. But all in all, I think it went well. It went okay. It was fun.
I would agree with that. Were there any areas you were more worried about in particular than others?
Oh, definitely sorrow, dude. Sorrow is like the hardest part when you're rusty. Doing the crazy juggle is really, really hard. So not being like in top shape is kind of stressful. And also the spikes, the noob spikes, or the Dorito dungeon, or whatever we call it these days.
We called it the Bugles Brig today.
All right.
Apparently, that's Lucy's fault and not Grim's.
Yeah. Well, those they're pretty scary, I think. So I don't like them too much.
I don't like them either. Rory, I think I'll let you ask another one.
Yeah. So, you said that you weren't really able to practice that much. You felt a little bit rusty and nervous, but like, how did those little small mistakes, like those early deaths, play on you? Because I know you took a death on the way to wall jump.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a tendency to like always attempt to play at my best, which doesn't really work out when you're not at your best. So the early deaths I would say was mostly because of nerves. I get a lot more relaxed when I get to double jump, because like it's the more skills you acquire in this run is allows you to make up for any small and tiny mistakes that you make. So it's barely noticeable when you have a bunch of skills. You can just you can fix it very quickly and very easily. But pre double jump is still very like static way of playing. It's like it's very fixed at how you want to play it. So before double jump, I'm very nervous, I would say.
And it seemed like you started to get a lot more comfortable with your movement, like the rust was sort of coming off, especially like towards Misty.
Yeah. I tend to practice the late game a bunch just to stay in shape as well. But yeah, Misty, everybody says it. It's so fun. Misty's great. So yeah, it was a blast going into Misty. I felt pretty good with that.
I do want to assure everyone, I'm still watching Zeph. We saw some of those deaths, and we saw her get through the mini boss. So even though we're interviewing Willson, Zeph, when you watch this back, I promise we're not ignoring you. Willson, I have a question for you as the current world record holder. Are there any strats that you still don't go for, or do you pretty much try to go for, every single crazy thing that you can go for? Like I know Elo's talked a little bit about, even though he's only 1 second behind you, going for things that are maybe hair safer.
There are a bunch of things that I don't do. One of the most noticeable things is that I don't do the ninja jumps when wall jumping up walls. I just do them just, at the top of ledges and walls. And I don't know. I don't feel good doing ninja jump wall jumping, so I skip that. There's a few strats in Sorrow, specifically the Sorrow Bash, where you can save like a second if you do it a bit quicker, which I've practiced. I just haven't, gotten the courage to do it yet. I'm trying to think. Like, I'm sure there's a bunch of things that I could do. Yeah, for example, there's the meteor kick in Misty after the second keystone. Like, a bunch of people do that. I think Aloe does it. I don't do it since I once killed a really good personal best to it. So I was like, I'm never doing you again. Goodbye.
Really?
But yeah, there's for sure a bunch of things that I don't do. And
Sure.
At the same time, there's a bunch of things that I think I do that nobody else does. So it's kind of balanced.
Makes sense. I'll ask, I think, one more question, and then Rory, I'll throw to you if you have.
I've got one more question.
Okay, you ask yours, and then I'll ask mine.
My question for you, Wilson, is you came in with a 31-17 in this race, and you've got, I believe, 3 more matches left to go in the groups. So how are you feeling about those, and how are you looking to improve your best race time?
Well, I would say I played quite solid this run. If you would take away the deaths. So, and I'm pretty sure I can minimize the amount of deaths. Some of them were just reckless, especially those after Light Grenade. I was like, I'm gonna make this cycle, and then I didn't make it, and I was like, all right, fine, you win. But yeah, I could probably play a little bit safer in order to not take deaths, which, playing safer is usually slower, but at the same time, deaths is almost always worse. So playing a little bit safer, I could probably get a better time. So I think that's what I'm gonna focus on for my upcoming races.
Yeah, makes sense. So I'll ask one more question, which is, I guess you sort of already answered a little bit, but what's your overall goal with this tournament? Are you aiming to go big and win the whole thing, or are you primarily participating, not that you're going to not try to win, but are you primarily doing it for enjoyment? Or I guess that's my question.
Well, yes, I would say I mostly do this because it's just, pure fun to be active in this community and just to be able to participate in the tournament. It's a lot of fun. I am, of course, aiming to win it all. At the same time, you gotta look at my opponents, Hello Jiminy and Uncle Ronnie. Uncle Ronnie has recently been putting up some insane times and joined the 28 club, so he's very scary right now. And Elo has a very different mentality about playing this game, so he finishes a lot more runs, which means he's a lot more consistent. So any one of those, and probably anyone else in the top 7, is a really big threat to me. So, but I'm aiming to win it. I'm gonna do my best.
All right.
Well, good luck to you.
Thanks.
Congrats again on your win.
Yep.
I want to focus back in on Zeph, because here we're coming up on Door Warp and the final escape, which is just... This is the last big thing in the run. So I want to see... I want to focus on how well she handled.
Now, I want to see a first try Door Warp, because Willson got second try. So if Zeph gets first try... Okay, not first try. That's fine. That's fine. This is
second try. It's still as good as Willson.
Yep. That's okay. Almost as good as Willson. Just to reiterate for anyone who maybe is less familiar with this run, this is a one-frame trick. It's a way to skip the entirety of the third dungeon. For whatever reason, if you press up on the frame that the game loads, right at that sort of auto spawn or auto save location when you get in there, you will get teleported to the bottom. Yep, and there's Zeph gets it. Yep. I want to say that was a 5th try. If I'm wrong about that, I apologize, but I think it was about a 5th try, which is totally respectable. For anyone, especially for Zeph, this is her first tournament race, and so I know that Zeph was probably a little bit nervous coming into this thing. I don't know her well enough to know how that may or may not affect her play, but fair to say that in a race setting, nerves can affect something as precisely timed as a Door Warp.
Right. I think I would be completely unsurprised if nerves have been a factor in this race.
I agree. Well, here we go. We're gonna culminate some more skills. We saw Willson do it before, and now we're seeing Zeph do it. Zeph looks like taking it a little bit slower through this escape, as always, similar to the rest of the speedrun. It's more important that you don't die. Zeph is also going to have to make it through the poison swim, which is arguably the most difficult part of this final escape section. The final grenade jump is difficult too, but even if you miss it, you can still finish the run. So let's see if Zeph's going to make it through. There's one fish and there's a second fish, and she is out. Good.
Now just precise little jump there to prevent Kuro from spawning. Gives us as much time as we want to set up this grenade jump, but
okay.
It's like she's not going to go for it.
I think that counts as that's a 0th try grenade jump. Legendary.
I think so.
You never ever see it. So Zeph is out. Her timer, as always, is not called yet because you need to wait for Ori to slowly get up and walk to the right. If you successfully get this grenade jump, which we saw Willson do earlier, you skip like 2/3 or so of this final little cutscene walking sequence, which is why it saves so much time. So Zeph is just going to have to hold right for a little bit longer. But once she does, Ori's going to walk to the right, Ori's going to try to glide and then get wrecked by Kuro, and then Naru's going to wake up. That's the sequence of events you can expect.
And then once Naru stops moving, then we call time. Should be in about 30 seconds or so.
That is right. Still a pretty solid performance. Going into this, Zeph's PB was at a 42:21. So this time is going to be within 2 minutes of PB, which is just fine, I think.
Right, I think that's really impressive to pull out something that close to a PB in a race sitting. The consistency is what I like to think of these races as being about. And a lot of times, like when runners are going for PB attempts, it's about like resets and stuff, but races are about the consistency. So it's always really good to see that consistency coming in.
I agree. And that's kind of what we wanted out of the start of this thing, right? We knew Willson was going to take the victory because he can win against, anyone in the world. He might have a harder time against someone like Elo Jiminy or Lucy or someone, but he can do it.
I don't know. He might not be able to beat Devil.
That's true. Devil has the dirty cheating powers of computers on his side.
Exactly. Devil, of course, making the TAS.
Yeah, there is an Ori TAS. If anyone you like this run and maybe you haven't seen it before, go to YouTube and type in Ori All Skills TAS. It exists. It's 26 minutes long and it's ridiculous. And it's an old route. Like if we made an updated TAS, it would probably be like, what would you say it would be at that point?
Probably on the order of 40 seconds faster, maybe.
Yeah, it's something super, super crazy. Well, Rory, I'm going to mute myself again for a moment. I'm not sure if we're going to interview Zeph. We may forego it only in the interest of time, but I kind of want to verify that. So in the meantime, I guess you have any other thoughts on this race? What were the highlights to you?
I think, obviously, like Wilson's incredible Misty execution was just a joy to watch. And in general, I think I'm really glad to see like how much Zeph has improved since she signed up for the tournament. That's looking at almost a 50-minute improvement, more than I think.
At this page, she's going to have a negative time
that she signed up. Right, exactly. Yeah. If we extrapolate that 50-minute improvement, she'll be finishing runs before they even start.
That's right. So I think for now we're going to forego an interview with Zeph just in the interest of time. But Zeph, this is only her first race. She's going to have plenty of other races, 3 more in the group stage, and then at least 1 bracket match, right? That's guaranteed for everyone.
Right.
So if anyone wants to hear from Zeph, don't worry, you'll hear from her in some other races. To give a quick recap of our group stages, this was out of our Thornfelt Swamp group. With that win, Willson is now 1-0. Zeph is at 0-1. We've only had 1 other race in this whole tournament, which I think is that the whole first race of the tournament? Now that I look at it, Sparrow versus Madstein. It was one of the early ones.
I think so.
Well,
the first race of the tournament.
Either way, GG to Willson on the win, and GG to Zeph for finishing out strong as well. We're going to take a quick break, but we do have 2 more Ori matches in quick succession on Speed Gaming here. The next one is going to be commentated again by Rory and myself, but we are going to take a quick break first.
All right, we will see you all in just a few minutes.